Hello and welcome to Old Ways of Gardening and Prepping. My name is Teresa. I'd like to welcome you out to the shed of many names on this evening where we're going to work on an interesting tincture that not many have heard about. Now what I have here, I have this one, I have another one over here, and I have a whole bunch, a big pile back at the house. This is American hornbeam, also known as blue beech, water beech, musclewood, and it goes by several other names. It's a shorter tree. It does get big, and a lot of people know it as fairy trees because they're the ones that have the entrances that come into them. It is a wonderful tree. Now, unfortunately, this and all that I have was ice storm damage, but you know what? You don't let anything go to waste. You use it. And I am thankful for it. Now, what we'll be doing is you want to peel the bark off. You do not want to let this dry. You want to do it while it's still green, because if it dries, you're not going to be able to scrape the bark off of it, because it also goes by American ironwood as well, which is two completely different trees. But this one gets really hard. Back in the day, it used to be used for mallet handles, hammer handles, axe handles, and so on. So that should tell you when it dries, this baby is tough. Now, it has, believe it or not, many medicinal values. Now, my people, the Cherokee, and several other eastern tribes scraped the bark and made a tea, and it was used for difficult or painful urination. Now, with this tree, the blue beech or hornbeam, you can use the bark or the flowers. Well, let me tell you, it's not flowering right now, so I'm going to be using the bark. And I'm going to save even more bark back, so when it flowers, I'll use the flowers and the bark to make more tincture. Which you can also add flowers to the tincture, this tincture later on. So, now, other medicinal wonderful benefits of this amazing tree is it relieves mental and physical fatigue. So if you're feeling tired all the time, first off, of course, make sure your iron's not low. But this will help for those who are stressing out and everything. It also is wonderful for stress, anxiety, and depression. It also helps to keep the mind active, and it's a whole lot better for you than some of those energy shots, and it's more natural. Well, it is natural compared to those energy shots. Some of those are scary with their ingredients in them. It's also, if you take the bark, and of course, peel the bark off, which I'm going to show you here in a minute how to do that. If you peel the bark off, you can brew a strong tea with it and use it in your hair. It's the #1 ingredient in your hair growth formulas. So yes, this will work wonders for hair growth as well. And it's also used for colds, coughs, nasal and chest congestion, and so on. And it, reason why they say use the bark and the flowers, it cures hay fever as well. The spring hay fever. Goldenrod's good too, but this works also for your spring hay fever. So I'm going to pause the video here for a minute, and then I'm going to adjust the camera, and we're going to get busy. I'll see you here in a bit. Okay, I also want to say make sure you have a really good knife. Just be careful, don't cut yourself. I'm using a 1/2 gallon jar. you can, well, half a gallon mason jar. You can use a quart jar. You can use a pint jar. You're going to want 100 proof vodka, of course. Now, I'll be bringing that out after a while, but let's get started. And work in a spot where the shavings can kind of fly. Also, make sure that your work area has been sanitized, which mine has. Clean and sanitized. And I have wiped down the limb to make sure there was no extra dirt on it. Even though dirt don't hurt, but still. And you can tell, this knife is sharp. This bark is tough. And you're going to want to keep peeling it until you have enough to fill, oh, you come back here. Enough to fill your jar halfway full. And you're going to keep scraping and scraping. And the good thing about this, if you wanted to, I'm gonna make this one, since it's short, I'm gonna make it into a cane. They also make really good walking sticks as well. And like I said, you just gotta make sure that it is still green, or you're not gonna be doing this. Oh, can't have my coffee flying around now. And of course, once your tincture's done, you'll be straining it. So you definitely want to keep all the absolute little bitty pieces. If you've ever was taught or know how to whittle, guess what? It comes into great help right now. And of course, it'll want to try to fight with you, but you just keep working with it regardless. Now, if you decide to make a walking stick, because don't waste the wood. Don't waste the wood, please. Use it all. Now, the one thing about walking sticks with this tree material, you're going to want to seal it. Once you get it all peeled. And as you can tell, it's definitely a labor of love. But if you can keep big pharma out of your life, you'll be better for it. So much better for it. Like my saying is, heal thyself. I should have had my funnel, but I don't. It'll be okay. As you can tell, it's going to take a while to get a half a jar of shavings, but it's worth every second that you whittle off bark of this limb, or of your limb. And see, you want to try to get a little bit of this inner bark as well, but not a whole lot. You definitely want the outer bark as well. That's your main thing that you're trying to get, is the outer bark. Well, I'm going to pause it, and once I get my jar halfway full, I'll bring y'all back. See you after a while, because this old girl's fixing to be busy for a bit. Whew, I am finally through whittling and got the amount that I want in my jar. Now, another thing that you can do, now you're going to have to make sure that it's very clean and your draw knife is sanitary as well, sanitized. You can place this in a vise. Just make sure you either use cloth around it or make sure that your vise is very sanitized, and use a draw knife on it and pull the shreds, the chips off of it. Now, you're going to want a blanket or something that you can catch all the wood peels, the peelings off of it. Now, another thing I was going to show you, you're going to want, there is the bark layer, a green layer, and then you get down to the white layer. You want to make sure that you also get that green layer as well that's underneath the bark. Now, I wanted to say, now, if for some reason you don't feel comfortable using alcohol to make a tincture on bug, you can dry the bark. Make sure that it's good and dry. It has to be dry. And you can keep packing your jar with it and vacuum seal it, and you can use it as a tea. You don't have to tincture it. I prefer tinctures because they last a whole lot longer. Let's just say indefinitely, as long as you take care of them and keep them out of the sunlight and everything. So you don't have to tincture it. You could stop here and just continue to fill your jar up once everything is dry. Now, you can put it in a dehydrator or in your oven on a parchment lined cookie sheet with the lowest setting your oven will go down to, and just let it completely dry. So for now, I'm doing a tincture. Let me adjust the camera down. And if you're doing a tincture, you want 100 proof vodka. Now, I would not make a tincture with the dry bark, because that's kind of a waste of time. But you definitely want to use the fresh bark and make sure that you get it. Come on now. There we go. That's not too bad smelling. And make sure you get it all out of there. I'm going to have to get a little more from another bottle I have and top this off. And you're going to want to keep an eye on it. And definitely recycle your bottles. Now, it's up to here on the jar. I'm going to want it up almost to the edge. That way, I know for a fact there's not going to be a whole bunch of air bubbles in there. Now, I've already wiped my rim real good. Make sure that there's none of the particles from the wood on your rim. And I usually use a Sharpie marker. And well, I think I took all those home to do, to write seedlings. And you're going to want to put Hornbeam Tincture. And today's date, January, February, March. Three 18/22. I had to think there for a minute. 3/18/22, and this was wild harvested. Now, if you have a Sharpie marker like I usually always do, you just write on the lid, because I prefer writing on the lid. You're going to want to put your band down good and tight. And you want to make sure that there's no air bubbles inside. And you can see that I'm definitely going to have to fill the jar up with more vodka. Now you're going to want to agitate it every 2 days, every day or every 2 days. Store this in a dark, cool place. And at 8 weeks or further, it can be 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 6 months, however long you want it to sit, but it has to be 8 weeks at least. Then we're going to strain it, and I'll bring you back when it's time to strain it. Now, I'll also have more information down in the description box below the video about a lot of the medicinal benefits of hornbeam. Now, I do expect you to do your research. Now, I don't know, and you don't know if you've never used hornbeam, if you're allergic to it. So, just take it in small doses in the beginning. Now, once it's ready, and I'll also have the dosage amount down in the description box as well. At 8 weeks or longer, this baby will be ready. Now, you don't have to strain it. Nothing's going to go bad in this. It's in vodka. This is going to be pickled. It's not going to go bad, everyone. As long as you take care of it. It's simple. It's easy to make your own medicine and keep Big Pharma out of your life. I hope you've enjoyed this video and it encourages you to make your own. And like I said, if you wanted to, you could just dry the wood chips from the hornbeam and make tea with it. And I'll have the amount that you need to use in the description box below to make tea. Simple, easy, anybody can do this. And the best part is, it's homemade, and you know exactly what's in it. Hornbeam and vodka, that's it. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comment section below. I will answer them as soon as possible. Everyone take care, and each of y'all have a blessed day. I look forward to seeing you again. Take care.